Hey everybody, welcome back to Creating Scenery with Microsoft Flight for Microsoft Flight Simulator using free resources. Today I'm going to show you how to create a three-dimensional ribbed roof or standing seam roof. We'll talk a little bit about the siding and how to do that. What I do is I like to model steel siding three-dimensionally for a lot of my models. There are times when I use textures to achieve the same thing, but it depends on the location of the building in my scene. Okay, so if I want to immerse the pilots into the scene, I will model as much of the structure in 3 dimensions. Okay, so if I zoom into this hangar that is being added to I'm adding to my KMFD scenery on flightsim.to, you'll notice that it's not a texture that is given the three-dimensional appearance. This roof is actually modeled in 3D. Okay, and so is the steel siding. Okay, you can't see it very well because it's pretty flat, but if I move down here to where the wall and the siding come together, you can tell that it's three-dimensional. This particular steel siding has a unique profile to it, and I wanted to model it as much as I could. Okay, this way, on structures that pilots can interact with, that can go into hangars and things like that, I like to model it in 3D. And I try to do it in a way that does not affect the frame rates of the simulator. Okay? If this building was off the beaten path, not in a high traffic area, then I would definitely use PBR texturing to get the same thing. So here at the same airport, I'm adding a maintenance building to the airport that is not in a high traffic area that you would go when you're in the simulator. However, you'd fly over it, drive by it, whatever you would. And I wanted to give the appearance of 3D. So that's when I use the PBR Textures. Okay, so this building has a corrugated steel siding and roofing, but I used the PBR texture that I got at one of the free sites, and one of those free sites is in the description of this video. But it gives the illusion of 3D. All right. This is the same texture. The beige and the white is the same texture. It's just that I took a version of the white layer and I brought it into Krita, which is free open source software. That is a Photoshop clone. Link is in the description. But I just took the white layer, copied it into Krita, and colored it a different color and saved it out as a PNG. So now I have a white steel and I have a beige steel. Okay, and then I applied those textures using the UV editing in Blender. All right, now some aspects of this building are three-dimensional, such as the gutters and the exhaust fans, the doors, my windows. Those are three-dimensional, but I didn't want to put in all of these extra polygons for something that's not going to be really seen really close. So what are we doing in this video? I'm going to show you some tools on how to create a ribbed roof. So let me set up some things and I'll be right back. So steel roof or steel siding comes in many different styles. Okay, the basic two types of steel roof is you have a standing seam means that it's smooth between the ribs, plus there's no visible fasteners to the roof. The ribs, and I'm giving you imperial dimensions, so you guys can convert it to metric. I normally use metric a lot, but anyway, you can convert. The distance between the ribs it's either 12 inches, 1 foot, or it's 1.5 feet, depending on the style that you're trying to make. Okay. The rib itself is usually about 2 inches wide and stands about 1.5 inches, or it's 1.5 inches wide and stands about 1.5 inches. Sometimes they're 1/2 inch wide and they stand about 1.5 inches. All right, so different style, but it's rectangular. It's easy to model. The other type of steel roof would be a ribbed roof / corrugated steel, meaning the same exact thing. The only difference is the distance between the main ribs is 9 inches. Okay, and then in between the 9 inches, you have a minor rib. The major rib usually stands about 1 inch tall, and it's usually about 2 inches wide, and it has a kind of a plateau type of profile. You got 2 sloping sides and then a flat top. Okay, and the minor ribs are the same thing, except they're really shallow. They're only about 1/4 inch tall, but they look the same. So, and then you have to model the fasteners. You have to put a little dot in your model. I usually don't put the screw heads because you're not really going to get that close, but you can. All right, so you got corrugated steel and you got a standing seam. I'm going to show you how to do a standing seam using some tools, and then you can apply it, the same methodology, to creating a ribbed roof. All right, now we're here in Blender, and let me turn on screencast so you can see what buttons I'm pushing. I have created an object. I've gotten rid of the camera and the light, and I've created an object using the Vertices Tool. All right, and the Vertices Tool allows you to select a vertice and extrude that vertice based on some dimension in whatever direction that you want to go. And basically what it does is creates a sketch. So here we have some vertices that are, these vertices are 2 units apart, and then these are 1 unit apart. You create a sketch of the profile that you're doing for whatever you're trying to model. All right. Now, if I was going to do a corrugated steel profile, I would create this kind of a pattern. All right, and I would go into, I want vertices. I'd select like these 2 vertices, and I'd move these in the X direction, and that going away from me is negative, so I'll go negative 1.5. Okay, and then let's see, it's flat here, it's flat here, it's up here, and then we go down here. I think this is up. All right, so I take these 2 and move those in the X direction, and going away from me is negative 0.25. So you get this kind of profile. All right, so this is kind of what a ribbed roof looks like in profile. Then once you have the profile done, now if you have a big long wall, you'll want to select all these, and you'll want to copy these, and so you're basically building your wall. So you don't have to do this 100 times. You can do this once and then copy this string of objects and snap them to the end so it repeats itself. All right, so let's select all these vertices. I'm going to turn snapping on, and I'm going to snap to vertice, and I want my active vertice to be my controller. All right, so here I have all the vertices selected, but I hold my shift and select the first one so it's highlighted. And then I hit Shift D, escape so I don't move it inadvertently. And then I hit G. Oops, I don't have my snap tool on. There, now I have it. Okay, now I hit my G, and then I hit enter. All right, so now we have a repeating pattern. All right, now a ribbed, it has 3 of these in between the main rib, but I'm just giving you an example. Now, while that's still selected, hit Control D, escape again, come down here, hit G, and you repeat it. All right, so you'll do this for as long as the wall is. Now, the only thing that you have to do is, now I'm going to show you something. If I select all these I want the edges selected. If I select all these edges and hit E and extrude those in the Z direction, I can come up here. Okay. I must have missed one right here. That's why there isn't one right here, but that's okay. You guys get the picture. At least I hope. Okay. So here I've made my 3-dimensional shape of my corrugated steel, right? But if I wanted to put a slice down the middle going this way, using the Control R, it would only do one section at a time. Okay, let me see if I can correct this and get back to, let's Control Z, whoops, escape, Control Z, Control Z. There we go. We're going to do it this way. Let me correct something real quick and I'll be right back. Okay, what I've done was I fixed this last, I didn't have a line between these 2 vertices, so I fixed that. So we're going to do that copy thing again. Make sure my snap is on, and I'm going to select the first vertice just like that, and then we're going to hit the G to, whoops, we're going to Shift D, and it will put it at the last since I have snap on. Hit enter. I think it's there now, right? Yeah, it's there. All right. Okay, so now I'm only going to do 2 on this one, all right? Because you guys get the picture. If I wanted a third one, I would just keep hitting Shift D and then place it at the end. Shift D, escape, place it at the end, etc. So you get this repeating pattern. Now, if I select all those vertices like we did before, and I extrude those in the Z direction, now there's my siding, okay, or my roof profile that I'm working on, right? However, in this method, you do a lot of loop cutting to cut off excess pieces of siding and roofing, right? But if I did that using the loop cut, which is Control R, it will only slice through each individual section. I don't want that. I want to be able to slice all the way across both of them all at the same time, so I don't have to keep doing this individually, right? All right, so let's escape. And let's Control Z so we go back prior to our extrude. Okay, and I'm going to select all those, and I'm going to turn on my merge tool. Okay, and I'm going to hit M, and I'm going to merge by distance, and then down here you'll notice it removes one vertice, and that's the one where there was an extra vertice where these 2 sections connected. Now that I've removed that one vertice, this is now one object. How to test that is edge select, select off of it, and then hold your Alt and select one of the lines, one of the edges, and the whole thing gets selected. So that proves that it's now one object. Now I can extrude in the Z direction, extrude that up. Now when I use my loop cut, it cuts across the whole thing. So you might need to merge the vertices in order to kind of fine-tune your model. Okay, so that's basically how you create a profile to use for steel siding. All right, I'm going to save this because we might come back to it later. Whoops. Okay, let's save that. Now we're going to create a basic building and a roof, and we're going to get to work on it. I'll be right back while I set up. Okay, we're in Blender. We have a new model set up, or getting ready to. I got the default cube, and I never use them for flight sim, so I'm going to select the camera and the light and hit delete. I'm going to keep this cube because we're going to use it. I'm going to change my units of measure using the scene properties units. I'm going to change that to imperial. I use metric most of the time, but some of you guys don't know metric. Most of you do. All right, so here I have my object selected, and we are going to create a building that is in the X direction 60 feet long. In the Y direction, we'll make that 20. And for height, we'll give it 1 story, which is 10 feet. Now, since my origin is in the middle of this cube thing, what do you call a cube that is this bar? A cube that's really a rectangle, you'll call a bar. All right. So since the origin's in the middle and my height is 10, I'm going to move that up half of that, which is 5. So now my bottom's sitting on the ground. All right. We're going to go into edit mode, and we are going to turn on polys, select our roof, and hit P to make that a selection of its own, and call that roof. Okay, and the cube we'll call walls. And then we want to get rid of the floor as well. We're not getting rid of them, we're just making them their separate objects. And the reason I do that is when I start doing a whole bunch of loop cuts, I don't necessarily cut all the way around my three-dimensional bar, because one side could be different, and I don't want useless polygons where I don't need them, right? All right, so let's select P and make this the floor. Okay, so now I have floor, roof, and walls. Okay, and let's select our roof, go back into edit mode there. Now, I want this to be, I want this roof to have a ridge along the top, and then it, at the ends, it's not a gable, but it's a hip. It's a slanted triangle, not a triangle that's standing straight up on the ends. That's a gable. We want the ends to be sloped in like this. That's called a hip roof. So we're going to create the hip, and it's going to have a ridge across the top. So what we'll do is select our poly. Oh, before we get going, I better select everything and go to Object and Apply Scale. All right, so this, for every object, scale is equal to 1. All right, now let's select our roof and go back into edit mode. All right, I'm going to make one loop cut right down the middle. Hit enter, escape so I don't move it. So now there's 2 polygons. one on this side, one on this side. Now what I want to do is I need a slope going this way and a slope going that way. So I'm going to make another set of loop cuts. So Control R, and I hit my Control R, click my mouse, drag that to one end because I want it to be a certain number of units away from the end. So drag it, click, and then I can move it in the X direction 10 units. Okay? And then I'm going to Control R, click, slide, move using G, X. Now I'm going the opposite direction, so that's -10. So now I have 6 polygons. 2, 4, 6. All right. Now, here's kind of a cool way to create your triangle. So what I want to do is I want to make an edge from this corner up to the apex, and then another one from this corner up to the apex on both ends. So I have this triangle on the end, right? Okay, so how do we do that when we have all of this? If you go into Node, Vertex mode, and turn on Merge, your Merge tool, Auto Merge tool, and go to Options, and go to Split Edges and Faces. Make sure that's turned on. Then, select a vertex and hit E. Oh, make sure that your vertex selection is on, active, and snap is on. All right, so I have this vertice selected. Hit E and snap to this one. It will automatically split this polygon. So if I go to Polygon Select, now it automatically splits those 2 polygons, right? Okay, so let's go back into Vertices Select and select this vertice, hit E to extrude, snap it there. Come down here, select that, E, snap. Select that one, E, snap. Okay, so now I have all of these polygons, right? Every once in a while I'm going to be pausing the video to catch my breath. I do all of my videos live. I try to do them one take, so if I make mistakes, you guys can see how bad I am at making videos. All right, so anyway, here we go. All right, so now I have these extra polygons that I don't really need right now. All right, so what I'm going to do is Polygon Select, and I am going to select these 3 polygons, and I'm going to right click and dissolve faces. So select that one, and that one. Right click mouse, dissolve faces. Then I'm going to select these 2, right click, dissolve faces. Select these 2, right click, dissolve faces. Okay. So I have now 4 polygons instead of the 6, 8, 10 polygons that we ended up having with all of our splits, right? The only thing is that you'll have extra vertices in there. These can cause problems later, but for what we're doing today, they're not going to cause issues. If you guys want me to explain that later, leave a comment. All right, so we have our roof basics in here. Now I'm going to go to Edge Select, and I'm going to select that main ridge that runs along our roof. I want to give the roof a pitch now. You know, I want its slope. Pitch in a roof is units rise over run. I want a 4 and 12 pitch. That means for every 12 inches of run, I'm going to have 4 inches of rise. So from this wall to the ridge is 10 feet, since our building is 20 feet across, right? So if I wanted a 4 and 10, the distance from here to here is 10 feet. and every foot is 4 inches, so that would be a 40-inch rise. Get the picture? All right, but I'm going to make it 48 inches. I'm going to make it 4 feet even, just for having a easy number to remember. So I select this edge, and I hit GZ4, hit enter, and that moves our ridge up 4 feet. So we have almost 5 and 4 pitch. We have 4.812 is our pitch. But anyway, it's 4 feet up. All right, now we start building the actual ribs for this roof. To build the ribs for the roof, what I want to do is I want to establish the center of our roof. We already have the center going down the long axis of our roof, but we don't have the center established in the middle of our building for the width, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make another loop cut. Control R. Here's where your problem. Remember those extra vertexes that I was talking about that could cause problems? It will not allow me to do a loop cut down the middle or anywhere because there's extra vertices. All right, so how do we take care of that? All right, here we go. So I'm going to go into I'm going to select face. I'm going to select this face, and I'm going to select this face, and I'm going to delete them. But I'm going to delete only edges and faces. Then when I turn my vertices on, you can see that I have some vertices sitting here all by themselves. All right. Now, I don't normally do my roofs in the fashion that you're seeing now. I do all of this deleting and stuff ahead of time. Okay. But this is what I'm giving you for this example. So here we go. So I've deleted the faces and edges only, and that leaves me the vertices. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select all the vertices I do not need. I don't need those vertices that are long, that are other than the corners or our ridge. I don't need those. So I'm going to hit delete vertices. Those are gone. Now I need to reconstruct my roof, right? Okay, so I'm going to select these two vertices, hit F. Select these two vertices, hit F. And F is joining those two together with an edge. So I'm going to select these two, hit F. All right. And then I'm going to select these two, F. And select these two, F. And I'm going to repeat that until I have edges between all of the vertices. So let me do that, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I have edges between all my vertices. Now I need to turn those back into faces. So go to Edge Select Mode, select your edges that you want to create a face out of. So I have those four, and I hit F, and it creates the face. So select an edge, select the edges for the face, and F. Edges, F. So now I have my, whoops, come on. So basically I recreated our roof. All right. So what I just showed you is an extra amount of work. You can actually do this simpler by planning your polygons prior to this step. But I wanted you to see when you have extra vertices in your polygons, the loop cut will not work. All right. Now we're going to try that center loop cut again, now that I got rid of the extra vertices. Okay. So we can go back into face and then Control R for loop cut, and see now I'm able to make my cut down the middle of my building. So I hit enter, escape so I don't move it. So now I have a center point for my roof, and that is right up here. It's the center in the long axis and the center in the short axis. So go into node and select that top center node and Shift S and move your cursor to selected. Alright, so now the origin point for any new object that we put is going to be right smack in the middle of our roof. Just like that. Now, one more thing before we start creating our ribs. There is a cool feature of Blender that allows you to change the XYZ plane based on a polygon. Alright, so go to Polygon Select, and I'm going to select this polygon. Doesn't matter whether you select this one or this one, okay, because they're both on the same plane. So select one of these polygons and come up to this orientation, this transformation orientation. Hit the down arrow and hit this plus. And this face, now we have this new object called face, means that when face is in this box, all your orientation is going to be off of this working plane. So I have a pitched roof that I want to base all my new objects off of. So that's where I created that orientation. But you might want to give it a name so you remember if you have a whole bunch of these. So we'll call this one north. I don't know if that's actually north, but we'll call it north. Now let's select this one, okay, and add another orientation, and let's call that, if that's north, this is going to be west, so let's call that west. Okay, so I have two orientations. I don't need one for this side and I don't need one for this side because we're going to mirror the objects that we create. Alright, so let's start on the north-south faces. This is the north face, this is the south face. So you don't need to select anything. What you need to do is you need this orientation to be north. Okay, get out of edit mode and we're going to add a new object. And I'm going to go into what's this called? Viewport shading. Okay, a wireframe. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add Shift A. I'm going to add a vertex, single vertex, and it's going to add a vertex to where our 3D cursor is. Okay, we are going to make a rib. Okay, so the orientation is now based on this north face. So this is going to be a little weird, but this is now the X direction and this is the Y direction. And then Z is coming back out at you. So I'm going to select the vertice that we just added, and I'm going to extrude that, and I want my snap-on, and since I have a vertice where these lines intersect, I'm going to go ahead and keep it on vertice snap. So with this vertice selected, I hit E, X for the X direction, and I extrude that vertice all the way down the roof edge, down to the edge. Now I need to go this way. This is the Y direction. And we need the thickness of our rib. And I'm going to make our rib 1 inch wide, so that's 0.083. Okay, so with this vertice, I'm going to go E for extrude, go in the Y direction, 0.08, oops, it's negative. Oh, yeah, I can go off this way. It doesn't matter for this. If you want to go in this is the positive direction, the way I have it oriented, my model turned. I wanted to go this direction, that would be the negative direction, but it doesn't matter for this. So I went 0.083, which gives me a point here, okay? All right, so now I have an edge that comes all the way down to here, and then this way 0.083 feet is basically what that is. Now I want to take and go all the way back up to the top. So I select this and extrude that in the X direction, and I'm going to snap it to where that first vertex is. However, since I specifically said extrude in the Y, it's not going to snap them together. It's not going to make a triangle. It's going to snap it even to where that vertex is, not at where that vertex is. Make sense? Clear as mud? Yeah. All right, so anyway, I extrude that to the top, click my mouse. So if we zoom into there, we started here, went down the roof, came over, and then right back up the roof. Since I'm on this north plane, it's following the roof, all right? Now we need to close that. We need to close this polygon, and that's between these two vertices. Select them two, hit F, and now I have an edge that closes that polygon. With me? Good. Now I want to, these are just four edges now. All right. I need to turn those into a polygon. So select those 4 vertices and hit F, and now we have a polygon. Okay. The next step I want to see is the orientation, which direction this polygon is facing. Is it facing us or facing away from us? So I'm going to come up here to overlays and overlay face orientation. Notice that it's red. Red means that the polygon is facing away from you. The normals are going away from you. All right. We want the normals to face us so the light hits it the way it's supposed to. Okay. So with the polygon select tool mode, select the polygon, hit an A or just select the polygon, and Alt N and flip it. Turns blue. That means it's facing towards you. Okay, so when we drew the polygon, we drew it backwards where it was facing away from us. And what we want to do, so we can extrude the rib, we wanted the normal to face us. All right, so that's what I just did. I flipped the normals. Then you can turn your overlay back the way it was. Okay. Now the next step is to extrude this polygon up. We'll extrude it up 2 inches, which is 0.16 feet. Okay. So with that polygon selected, hit E. 0.16. Okay. So now you have a rib that sticks up above the roof. Okay. But it's not in the position that we want it. So we're going to get ready to move it. Now the rib that we created, we are going to use an array modifier, a mirror modifier and an array modifier to create all of our ribs on this face and this face. Okay. In order for me to do that, I need to move this to where I can do my array a lot better. So I'm going to go to Vertex Select, turn X-ray on so I can get all the vertices. Select those vertices, turn X-ray off. So now all of them are selected. And I want to hold my Shift key and click this vertex in the corner and then select it again so it's active, so it's white, okay, because we have our node snap on active. And I'm going to hold my Shift and move my mouse down to this corner and hit G to move that rib down to that corner. See how that works? Okay, so we have our starting point for our array of ribs going across the roof. But we also want to do the other side at the same time. And how you do that is with this, with the rib selected. Actually, you don't have to have the rib selected. Well, you do, but you don't have to be in edit mode. You can be out of edit mode, and that object, that vertice, let's call this, rename this to rib. Okay. And then come over here to our modifiers. Select mirror modifier. We don't want to mirror it on the x-axis. We want to mirror it on the y-axis. So it looks like that. Okay? So we have our mirror modifier. We have not applied it yet. Don't apply it yet. Now, let's go back to our modifiers and do an array modifier. And down here, the array modifiers can be on the bottom of the two modifiers that we have active. And we want to not do a relative offset. We want an actual constant offset, and we want the offset to be in the x direction. In the x direction, it's going to be 1.5 feet. Okay, since it's moving in the wrong direction, we come to this 1.5 feet and go negative 1.5, and that moves it into the direction that we're looking. Okay, with me so far? All right. Now, we don't have enough ribs to go along our building. So what we're going to do is, over here in the array modifier, is we're going to increase the number of ribs. All right, you can click until it gets to the end of the building, or you can actually type in a number. We'll type in 80. 80 is way too much. Let's go, how about 40? 40 is almost there. Let's add one more. Bam. All right, so 41 ribs across there. So what do we have so far? We made our single rib. Then we made it from the center. Then we moved it to our starting position down here in the corner. Then we applied a mirror modifier so we can have it on the other side. And we added an array modifier that gives us the number of ribs across our roof. Now, before we do the next step, we want to apply our modifiers. Okay, we want to, if you have it all correct, you want to make it final. All right, and I think we do. I'm double checking my brain. I think we do, so we can apply all. So now these are, we can edit each individual, everything's finalized. We can edit each individual rib if we wanted to. Okay, now you notice at the end of the building, the hip comes down like this. So these ribs don't go all the way to the ridge at the ends. So we have to cut those off. So how do you cut those off? Well, I'll show you. Let's go into top mode by hitting the tilde T. So we got a top-down view of our building, and we're going to zoom into one portion of our building so we can see this triangle right here. Okay, and we are going to turn on our knife tool. Knife tool is this tool right here. Looks like a knife. All right, and we're going to cut these ribs along this line. All right. So, do you have to be perfect? No, you have to be just close. So I'm going to click here. So now I have this rubber band line. And I'm going to come up, try to follow that line as close as I can get it. And before I click my mouse, I'm going to hit Z. So I cut through my ribs. I hit Z. And then click my mouse. You get these those red dots on the screen. Hit enter. And then do the same thing on the other end, on the other side. So come up there, hit Z to cut through, click your mouse, hit enter. So now these ribs inside this triangle are separate than these ribs, and we can now get rid of them. Okay, so I go to my select tool and turn on polygons and X-ray, and you can see the polygons that we're selecting, just like that. All right, zoom out, see like that, see what we've done, and then I got some more polygons I need to select. We got anything that's still black that's inside of there needs to be selected. Okay, then I hit delete faces, and they're gone. See how that works? Now we'll do the same thing to the other side. So tilde T for top view, and you can make those cut as precise as you want. Okay, I'm just eyeballing it for the sake of this video. Okay, so we're going to come down to our knife tool, and we are going to select here, follow that line, push Z to cut through, hit enter. Whoops, it didn't work. Hit Z. No, what am I doing wrong? I'm doing something wrong. Oh. Let me go here. Select all. Okay. Is that right? Okay. Tilde top. All right. Knife tool. Select. There we go. Z. There we go. Did that slice? I don't think that sliced. It did not slice. Hold on, let me figure something that I did wrong. No, I didn't do anything wrong. It was right. Alright, so knife tool, select here, make my line, hit Z, hit enter, select, did that slice? That didn't slice that side. Slice this side. That side worked fine. Okay, let's try this again. Tilde T, like I said, this is always live, so when I make mistakes, you see how mistakes are made. Alright, so I want to select all of those again. Go to the knife tool. here. And Z, select that. Yeah, it worked that time, and I didn't do anything different. All right, so go into select. I should have, let's turn that off. We can see, yeah, see, yeah. All right, so we want to select all those polygons now that are on the triangle. Sorry guys, but it worked. All right, and then hit delete, delete those faces. And there we have those ribs. Okay, now when you do the ribs for this, okay, so how I'm going to do that is I'm going to basically do the same thing I did when I created this one single rib, but I'm going to create it for this over here. So we want that to be in this same spot. And let's turn these ribs off so we don't confuse ourselves. All right. And I'm going to get out of edit mode. And I'm going to I'm going to shift A to add another vertice. And our vertices right here. Okay. Now I want to move this vertice to this corner. So with node snap on, hit G, and it moves our vertice to this corner. All right. Now we want our rib to come down this edge, over and back up. So let's change our face to the west and select our vertice and go to edge snap, because there's no vertice down here, there's just an edge. So I got edge snap, and I'm going to zoom in here, and we're going to extrude that in the X direction. Whoops, no we're not. Is that the X direction? And that might be the Y direction now. We're going to, let me control that. All right, so we're going to extrude Y. Y is going that way. All right, I got another thing I need to figure out. Be right back. Sorry. Okay, what I did was, apparently when I selected this face and created a new face orientation, the one that I did for west didn't register. Okay, so basically I selected this polygon in the roof layer and then redid, just added a face orientation, and that took care of the problem. So that when I did that face for the west, it didn't register. It was still on, it was on this plane and not this plane. Does that make sense? Sorry about that. Like I said, it's the risk that you do doing videos live. All right, so anyway, all right, so we're creating a rib for the north and for the west and east face of our roof. So with this vertice selected, let me make sure I have that. Okay. All right, with this vertice selected, we're going to extrude that in the X direction. Oh, wait a minute. No, I'm not. I need to turn on my edge select because I don't have a vertice down here. Now with that selected, extrude X goes down my roof, snap to that line. All right. And then we are going to, I got to figure out which orientation I'm at here. So I'm going to tilde top. All right. That's top. So to the right is negative. All right. So I'm going to select that vertice and I'm going to extrude Y minus 0.08. No, I went the other direction. That's all right. 83. It doesn't matter. Just pick a direction and go for it. All right, so we went, oh yeah, positive Y. I was thinking X. All right, so we went this way 0.083 inches. Now we're going to go all the way back to the top. So I want node snap, vertice snap. And we're going to extrude that in the X up until it's equal to this vertice. All right, so now we have down, over, up, and then select these last two vertices, hit F to join them together with an edge. Then I'm going to select all the edges, hit F again to create our polygon. Now we need to check to make sure that the normals are facing us. So I'm going to come up here to overlay, face orientation. It's blue, so that means it's oriented right. I don't need to flip this one. Okay, so turn that off. Go back to our regular view. Then, now with my polygon selected, I can extrude 0.16, and now I have an edge I have a rib at the end of the building. And then, like our other one, we want to turn on X-ray, select all of our vertexes for this rib, zoom into that corner, and select this vertice, and we want to move our entire object to this corner, so hit G since I have node snapping on, vertex snapping on, hit enter. Alright, so that starts our ribs for our ends. Now, next we need to do is need to mirror it so it goes on the other side of the building, and add the array for the number of ribs coming across. So we're going to do the mirror modifier first. So now we have rib over here and a rib over here. And then we're going to do another modifier for our array. And we are going to use the constant offset, and we're going to go in the Y direction, and I believe we're going to go negative 1.5 again, negative 1.5. Yep, so our ribs are going to the right now. Now we just want to add until we have the correct number of ribs going across our roof. Okay, if I do one more, it's going to be off the roof. Okay. Now, we need to slice our ribs for this triangle. Now, last time I did the slicing when everything was applied, so I had to do it twice. I had to do it at this end, and then I had to do it at this end. But if we go ahead and apply our, let's get out of edit mode, hit tab. If we apply our array modifier first without doing the mirror, just the apply, the array, these are all separate ribs now. Okay, these aren't. These are mirrored from these. So we're working with our master set right here. Okay, we're working with only this side, but whatever, since we have the mirror modifier on, whatever we do here gets mirrored over here. All right, so let's go to top-down view and go into edit mode and zoom in here, and let's select all those. Go to our knife tool and click close to this line, come up here, hit Z, click, enter. Same over here. So click here, follow that line, hit Z, click, enter. Then we can select our polygons, and let's click outside of there so we can see our dots here. All right, we want these, we don't want these. So I'm going to select these polygons right here and select these down here. So only these get deleted. Okay, and then hit delete, delete faces, and you'll notice that it does it on the other side since we had the mirror modifier on before we did our splitting. Okay, now I can apply our modifier once we get out of edit mode. So here's our mirror modifier. Go ahead and apply that, and now those ribs are, you can edit those if you wanted to. Now you can keep the mirror modifier and not apply it, and when you export your model to the flight sim using the Blender tool, it will apply that mirror modifier for you. Okay, you don't have to apply the mirror, but I do. All right, so now we have our ribs made for our building. So I have not applied a color to them. Let's turn the other ribs on. Oh, these are, let's give this a name, rib 2. Okay, now let's apply some color to it. So let's select our roof. And what color do we want our roof? Let's make it a kind of a clay color. So let's call this clay. Select our color. And move that down a little bit. It gives us a clay color. And let's move up our metallic so it's a little bit, and then move our roughness down so it's shiny. Well, we don't want it to be that shiny. Okay, so now we have our clay color for our roof. However, our wall was selected, so let's get rid of that. There we go. And then go to our ribs. Just turn these ribs on and apply that clay to the ribs, and these ribs, apply that clay to the ribs. So there you go. That is how you create a 3D standing seam roof. Now if you want to put ridge caps on them, let's do that. Okay, to add a ridge cap, if you wanted to, you don't have to, it's up to you. Let's select our roof and go to node, select that vertice right there, and Shift S, move our cursor to this node. All right. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a plane. Let's get out of edit mode. Shift A for mesh plane, so it adds a plane. Now let's go into edit mode. How wide is our? That's 2 feet wide. That's too wide. So we're going to go change the Y to 1 foot. Then we're going to go into edit mode by hitting tab, select these two. And we are going to move those GX. Whoops. Got to change our orientation back to global. All right, select those two vertices, GX, slide that all the way down here, right there. And let's move these so they snap to there, so it's the same on both ends. All right. Now notice our ridge cap cuts through the top of our roof. All right, so I'm going to turn snapping off. I'm going to select all of our nodes, our vertices, and I'm going to move those in the Z direction up until our roof no longer appears through our ridge cap. Okay, now we need to bend it so it goes down the roof like that, right? So we can do a loop cut right down the middle, just like that. Hit enter, escape so you don't move it. Then I'm going to select these nodes, these vertices. I always call them nodes. So I have these vertices selected, just like that. And I'm going to move those down so they're kind of sloped down like that. So we're going to G, Z, hold my shift so I can control it a little better until, okay, so there's the ribs. Move up until the ribs disappear. Click my mouse, just like that. And then get out of edit mode and apply the material. So now we have a ridge cap. Now for a hip roof, you do the same thing for this right here. So how do we do that? Well, we can add another plane. Shift A, mesh, plane. Okay. And in top mode, tilde T, we want our X direction to be 1 foot. Okay. Yep. And rotate this RZ in the Z direction, kind of like that. Then we go into edit mode, select these two nodes here, and move those. Wait a minute, that's not what I want to do. I want to turn my snapping on. And oh, wait a minute. I want one more thing here. So I want to loop cut that. Escape. Select these nodes here, but make this node active by selecting it twice. And I'm going to move that down to this corner by hitting G, just like that. And then I'm going to do the same with the top. Select these three nodes, but make the middle one active by selecting it twice so it's active. And then move that to this point. Okay, just like that. Now we want to select everything, turn off snapping, G, Z, and move that up until our ribs disappear, just like that. And then select our four corners without selecting our middle, G, Z, and move those down, okay, until you don't see those. Okay, now what you can do is you can move these around, like you can work on these corners to make, you can actually do kind of like that. Give it a little corner there. Play with these. Just kind of pretty that up a little bit. Okay, and basically you can copy and rotate that to all the other corners once you have it done. Okay, and then apply the material to it, and so your hip roof kind of looks like that. So I know this is a long video. Made a lot of interruptions. I made some mistakes. You're going to do that anyway. But this gives you the basics of how to create a three-dimensional roof. If you guys want more examples of this, let me know in the comments, and I can put together some videos that you guys are interested in. But I hope this kind of gives you an idea how you can use certain tools to create these three-dimensional roof type objects for your models. All right, I know this was long and dry, and I know I bore a lot of people, but I hope you learned something from my videos. Make some comments, keep them kind, I hope. Subscribe if you would, and I will see you guys on the next video. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.